Hi everyone, welcome to SpiceWorld. If you've made it to this session, you're here to learn a little bit about the Spiceworks community. My name is Sean Dahlberg, and I'm the Director of Community here at Spiceworks Ziff Davis. Some of you may know me by my picture, but I'm probably a little bit more known by my forum avatar. I'm also joined today by Kat Chu, who is our Director of Engineering. Fun fact, not only has she been here longer than me, something I recently learned is that Kat first got started at Spiceworks to work on our desktop application, not the community. Come December, I will have been with Spiceworks for 10 years, though, and this is the first time learning of it since I've always known Kat from working on the community side of things. Unfortunately, something has come up, and so she may not be able to join us till later into our session, but the show must go on. I know we have a few new faces, so I just want to take a moment and sort of explain what the Spiceworks community is. You'll see a blurb here from our field guide. It's sort of our handy-dandy tool to get new community members up and running. Much like an iceberg, there's a lot going on beneath the surface, and we want to give a tool to help people get around. But at the end of the day, the Spiceworks community is a place where IT pros help each other out. Much of that help is done through topics and conversations. Many of those are pertaining to break-fix solutions or doing research for an upcoming project. But you'll also see a lot of conversations about career growth and personal events in an IT pro's life. It's a community where people celebrate their shared successes, but also have a place to just talk to others who understand the challenges they face, including the challenges they face with PEPCACs. While we'll talk a lot about the features and functionality of Spiceworks.com, it's important to understand what it's all about. And as you may have seen in our welcome session, this is one of my favorite go-to images when describing the Spiceworks community. In it, you're going to see three different parts of our community. Those in orange shirts who are Spiceworks employees, those dressed in what I'll call Friday business casual, which are generally our tech marketers and brand representatives, and those dressed a little bit more casually like I usually am, and those are our IT professionals. But if you take a real good look at this picture, what you'll see is these three different member sets all intermingling and talking together. And at the end of the day, that is what Spiceworks.com is all about. It's about facilitating conversations for IT and tech professionals to help you get your jobs done. Now that we have a better idea as to who Spiceworks is for, let's talk a little bit about what is going on. Before we dive into what we've done this year or what the future looks like, I'd like to take a minute to set the stage a little bit better. While I've been with Spiceworks for nearly 10 years, I've recently returned to the product side. Today, I'm focusing on our IT tools and applications, including the Spiceworks community. As anyone who's worked with a product manager can tell you before, we're full of ideas and opinions. Not all of them great. So as I stepped into this role, my first reaction was to look at the laundry list of features I've wanted to build over the years. But when I took a step back, I knew that wasn't the right answer. I started to look at what we do now, what we don't do, and where we want to be, and sort of use that as our guiding star. With being focused on where we want to go, it was a little bit easier to see what we wanted to accomplish this year. One of the first things we actually rolled out was an update to our how-to articles to allow Markdown. We've had how-tos for years and years. In fact, you'll know there's actually how-to articles in the community, and there's another version in our help desk called Knowledge Base. And they've always allowed you to add some imagery and text, but there was never any stylizing of it. And some of the challenges there are times where you need an ordered list or bullet points, or you need to emphasize a certain pieces. So we went back and we updated these to allow Markdown. While review pages have been a part of the Spiceworks community for a long time, a new facet we added to it is our comparison pages. This gives the ability for IT pros to compare product, services, and even brands that really help them make educated decisions. As you can see, we didn't look at reinventing the wheel because at the end of the day, we know the real gold is the reviews written by IT professionals. So we did our best to give you an easy way to compare these and view feedback based on your peers' experience. These are features we launched earlier this year. But as we started to plan out not just this year, but where we wanted to go in the years to come, we started to take a look at the foundation that is holding everything together. And it became apparent that before we started adding anything more or making major modifications, we had to work on that foundation. One of the challenges we had in the past that we were always so busy moving forward and trying new things, we didn't always go back and iterate on those features or remove those that just weren't successful. On top of that, we were always trying new technologies and we weren't keeping our tech stack up to date. I bring this up because a lot of this year has been dedicated to our tech stack, both getting everything up to date and slimming it down. A couple examples of this is we've done some major updates to the search engine that we use. I think we went from something like a version 2 up to version 6.8. We've updated the core language the community is written on. We actually even removed one of the languages we were using a few years ago that we've never updated. It was something that was cool at the time, but we just never dedicated a lot of time to it. On top of that, we've been consolidating our ESPs down to one email service provider. This way, whether you're getting a transactional email about your account or a community notification, always coming through the same system. You don't have to set up different rules for that. On top of that, we actually removed one of our ID services. We actually built one a long time ago and started building a subsequent one. They were both running simultaneously, and because of that, it was causing a couple challenges. So we went ahead and removed one and started updating the other. And when you think about it, it's really just remodeling the house, so to speak. It's making sure it has a great foundation, great walls. So that way, as we're starting to add new things back into it, it's under a very stable foundation. And over the course of not just this year, but the future years, we're going to do a better job of ensuring that our tech stack is kept up to date. As I was working on this presentation, I was trying to think of a good technology analogy. Well, building a house, yeah, everyone sort of gets that concept, but when you're dealing with a bunch of IT pros, you want to hit it a little bit closer to home. Pun intended. And at first, I was thinking of some funny jokes maybe about Windows 3.11 or Windows 95 and using that today. We actually had a member of the community that was well known for using really old technology. But as I was digging through some imagery, I actually ran across a contest we used to run called the Cable Closet Contest. And one of the categories was most improved. And IT pros would show their before and after images of their networking closets. And I came across this one, and then you see the updated version. And this was one of our finalist entries. The reason I like this analogy is you see it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot easier to manage, it's a lot easier to update. But if you go and talk to this IT pros end users, they probably don't notice the difference. At the end of the day, their networks are still running, and as long as they can get on the internet and listen to Spotify or go on Netflix or do work, of course, they're happy. Sort of the same thing here. All of these updates we've done, for the most part, have been transparent. Although we've had a few members notice that search has actually been a little bit more improved than it was. But at the end of the day, a lot of this is really here to set us up for our future success. Which is a great segue to our next section, the future. What is it we're working on today that you hope to see soon, whether it's later this year or early next year? Before I go too far into that, I have another great analogy. And yes, I know, I'm really bad with these. One of the things I like to do is plan by Play-Doh. And what I mean here is I'm not going to be as smart today as I am 90 days from now. So while we'll always have a guiding star that we're leading towards, we know the things that we're doing tomorrow are fairly well set in stone. But what are we going to be doing 90 days from now, 120 days from now, 180 days from now? That gets a little bit more malleable. And when you're building with Play-Doh, that's a little bit easier to do. Anyone who's familiar with waterfall versus agile, you sort of see the theme I'm going. So the things we're working on right now obviously are very much set in stone, but some of the things we'll talk about are things that we're looking to do, but we may pivot on based off of how long certain things may take to do or updates that the community is really glomming onto. Of course, I got to put the disclaimers in here, work in progress, don't panic. These next two things that you're seeing are actually mock-ups. These aren't things that we have working now. While there are versions in our staging environment, they're not quite to the level of detail that gives you a good idea of where we're going. So one of the things we're rebuilding is our topic view. And part of the reason for this is what we have today is actually 4 different variants. Right now, there's a desktop logged in, logged out, and a mobile logged in, logged out. And some of the challenges with that is when you're making an update to one, you actually have to go make it to these other versions. On top of that, anyone who's familiar with our topics know that there's some fun and challenges in there. Sometimes topics can jump, depending on when ads are loading or other things going on. Our topics have not seen a core update in years and years. And so, as we were talking about changes we want to make to them over the course of time, sort of that same conversation we were just having. We didn't feel like the foundation of what was there was strong enough to get us to where we need to go. And so we took a hard look at a few things. As some members already know, we were actually looking at a couple third-party solutions. But the deeper we got into it, we saw they would get us most of the way there, but not all the way there. The things that we do are a little bit unique for IT professionals and how we weave that into the greater community. We were looking at just a topic solution. There are probably some great options we could have gone with. But when we think about how this fits into the greater community, whether this is our local IT meetup programs, our vendor programs, our homepage, our feed, everything else, it made more sense for us to really build this ourselves. And so much like what I was talking about earlier, we looked at topics based on what do we need from a topic? And by us, I mean actually you. What does an IT pro need when they're coming in here? If they're looking for break fix solutions, if they're looking for recommendations, looking to let off a little steam. What are those elements that they really need? And what are the things that we've added over the years that we haven't seen used much or haven't seen used well? And this is where we started today. We want to make sure that what we have is a very consistent experience, regardless of how long that first post is, how short it is, how many replies they are. So as we're rebuilding this, we're looking at a few core things. First is performance. Topics should load quickly. They should not jerk around. They should get you to the information you're looking for as fast as possible. On top of that, we know that some people use desktops, some use laptops, some use tablets, some use smart devices. We want to make sure that topics and the community as a whole is using responsive web design. So instead of having multiple variants, we can have a very consistent look and feel, whether you're logged in and logged out. Granted, a logged in member is going to have more options, more functionality, more features, but we shouldn't be removing information for logged out visitors. And as I'm sure some of you will see, yes, we still do have ads. The Spiceworks community, just like our IT tools and apps, are free for IT professionals to use, but we have to pay the bills. And working with great vendors to bring their information to you is part of that. The teams are working on an alpha version of this that we hope to make available soon. But even then, it's going to be opt-in at first, and there's going to just be a lot of rigorous testing. As many of you know, topics are very core to the community experience, and it's one of those things we have to get right before we make a hard changeover. So you'll hear a lot more about this coming up soon, and for those of you interested in helping us test, let us know and we'll get you included in that process. One of our development squads actually just started a new outcome, and that is updating our site navigation. For those who are familiar with the navigation today, it's a little bit bigger, a little bit clunkier, and it isn't consistent across Spiceworks.com. So we're rebuilding this not just for Spiceworks.com, but all of the Spiceworks properties. But we're looking at a little bit differently as well. The needs of someone in the Spiceworks community may be a little bit different than those looking for editorial content, which will be different for those in our cloud help desk, for example. And so while there should always be consistency for the entire brand, we want to make sure that navigation functions well for the specific needs you have at this time. We have a new member of the team that just joined last week. And during the interview process, she said something that, well, I'm totally going to steal. We started talking about some of the challenges of bringing the different aspects of Spiceworks together. And she came up with this really cool, or at least nerdy analogy that spoke to me. It was about how the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, they all are unique, but they always feel like they're part of the same universe. And at the end of the day, that's what Spiceworks should be. Whether you're in the cloud help desk, you're in the Spiceworks community, you're reading editorial content, you're reading our review pages, it should all feel like it's part of the same universe, the Spiceworks universe. But the elements of that area should change based off of what is the main goal. What I'm trying to do in a help ticket is definitely different than what I'm trying to do in a community topic, which is different than what I'm trying to do in a review page. So while it should always feel like a part of the same brand, it should be unique enough and really work towards that. And that's what we're doing with the navigation as well. Some of the navigation will be global and site-wide, and you'll see different aspects of it, whether you're logged in or logged out. But at the end of the day, whether you're in the help desk or you're in the community, the navigation should feel like it's part of that same unit. On this one, I don't have a mock-up yet to show, so I don't have to put as many disclaimers. As you see here, this is actually an older picture of the feed. But our feed needs some updates. For those of you who have used the feed or the homepage, it is a very traditional, what I'll call a forum feed. If you're following the security group, for example, you're always getting updates about any and everything happening in the security group. If you're a crazy person like me who follows lots of individuals and lots of discussion groups and vendors, you have a feed that almost becomes unwieldy. Internally, I sometimes get a few chuckles when I use TikTok as one of my prime examples of the direction I'd like to see the feed go. No, I'm not looking for it to be full of dance videos or anything like that, but I use TikTok pretty frequently, and my feed generally has content I enjoy in it. It's about video games I play, it's about technology I use, and yes, it's also about lolcats. And we should be doing something similar. Instead of having what I call a forum feed, it should be a much more personalized feed. When I see that I'm following TFL or Gary D. Williams and they're engaging in content, it's much more likely I'm going to be interested in it, especially if it's about a piece of technology I enjoy. If it's about, CSS or HTML or PowerShell and TFL is engaged into it, there's even a higher chance I might be interested in it. So it's taking these kind of information points we have about our members and using that in a way that benefits them. For visitors who come to Spiceworks because of a search engine, this update may not feel as pertinent to you, but for those of you of us who are here every day, this is actually going to be a really big update. This way you can start finding all of those conversations you really wish you'd stop missing and get fed the things you're looking for. The challenge with our current feed right now is, again, it gives you almost information overload, and many times it's promoting things to you don't really care as much about. In the reverse, we have the community homepage, and while we try and curate the best content always, it's maybe not always relevant to you, and it's only updated a few times a day. So by making a core update to the feed, we can actually give you the best of both worlds. What's after that? Well, I'm going to reference my Play-Doh analogy from earlier. We have some ideas on what we'd like to work on next. Top of mind for me is news and insights, which we talked a little bit about, but we haven't always done a great job of member onboarding. And by that, I don't just mean new members, but even elder members. There are better ways of funneling you into the different areas of the community and ensure you're knowing about what's going on. Also, member profiles. They haven't been updated a long time, and they shouldn't just be updated for the sake of updating. But the last time we did a core update to them, the industry was in a totally different place. So based on the things we've learned over the last few years, based off where we feel everything is going, there are definitely some quality of life updates that we can make to member onboarding and profile system. But one of the reasons I like to build with Play-Doh is we should also be looking at the reception of the updates we're doing. We may need to make some other updates before then based off of feedback we're getting from our members, whether it's about the topics, whether it's about the feed, whether it's about navigation, or just other updates we have going on. So I know we've covered a lot of things and I've hopefully answered some questions, but chances are I've created some new ones. Give me a second, I'll go check and see if we have any Q&A questions in the chat already. But before I go too far, I just want to say thanks to everyone. The reason I work here and the reason I've been here for so many years is because of our members in our community. I really do love what I do. And while we've had some great times, I really do feel that the best is still ahead of us. So now let's turn it over to the question section. And here we are. All right, we're going through. Luckily, Kat showed up, so she is. Can you hear me? Yeah, there we go. Kat showed up, so she can correct all the things I got wrong. But I did see a few questions I wanted to jump on real quick. I think both Eric and Brandon had brought up the feature request system. So in both facets. So one, we know that the feature request system easier to find, but aside from that, it looks like some of the older site. For those of you who do go to it, it actually looks like the community looked pre/people profiles. We've made some updates there. There are probably some quality of life we want to make there just because there are categories in there that are no longer relevant. So we want to be able to at least separate those two. Like, hey, here are the places to add feature requests for now. Here are the things that people asked before, but maybe it's a piece of technology we don't do anymore. Do we actually still look at them? Yes, I look at them pretty often. Lately, I've looked at a little bit more for CHD than community, mainly because as we're building like the new ticket view in CHD, there are a lot of feature requests in there like, hey, I wish I could have this, could have X, Y, and Z. So we're looking at there. When we started working on the new topic view, that was also the first place I went. Like, what are the things people are looking for? What are some of the challenges? We already know about some of the bugs and the shakiness, but there were other features in there. So yes, we definitely use those quite often, and hopefully soon. Yeah, I know I keep using soon. We'll be able to go in there and actually start closing out the ones as we address them. And before we jump any farther, Kat, was there anything I rambled on about that you wanted to jump in on?
No, but I thought I touched because we're talking about the feature request section, and I also see a question about how can community let you know they're interested in taking part in testing and feedback. So if you all are not part of the group in the community called Spiceworks Previews and Updates, so that group we actually post ahead of time of things that are coming up, and I believe we'll be using that again when the new topic page is ready for testing. So if you haven't joined that group, please do, and keep an eye out there. We'll be posting there.
Yeah, correct. So we'll have that. The other thing we're working on right now is the wrap up the SpiceWorld. So it's sort of a big announcement about all the things we talked about pertaining to SpiceWorks, specifically in SpiceWorld. So that'll also be another area. It'll be tagged there. It'll be tagged in the SpiceWorld group. It's my topic, so I'm going to put it on the homepage, of course. But yes, as we get closer to not just the new topics, but anything we're starting to work on, we'll also start building a new topic in the preview section and sort of promote, hey, this is what we're doing. These are where we're going. And if you're interested in getting involved early, let us know. This is actually one of the things we were working on the new topic view when we were looking at third-party solution. One of the challenges we had with that versus doing it ourselves is we have a system, I don't know if it's the actual name, but we call it Feature Flipper. And because of the Feature Flipper, the way we do it before, or it's after our CDN, when a user logs in, we can give them a different view than the standard view. And that was one of the big reasons, like, hey, as we're rebuilding new topics, we can now do that again. And instead of, disrupting it for everyone, we just disrupt it for those of you who raise your hand. And you know me, I like to test in production.
Yeah, so we actually have been using it for ourselves actually to test. So it's already there with a feature flipper, but it's not built out enough that we would want users to go on it yet, because it would very much disrupt your replying and your reading right now, since it's not fully there. So so we started with that from the beginning. Like, we knew that we wanted to get user feedback and to kind of slowly switch users over. So we took the feature flipper into account from the very beginning.
Let's see. Eric had one. I'm going to jump on again. The soon disclaimer. I mean, that's always going to be a disclaimer. Will we get more predictable? I want to say yes. And so I can't remember if I say lots of things lots of times. I think I just said it in this session, if not, I said in the earlier one. So one of the things we've been looking at 2021 about is really shoring up our foundation, so we can start doing more things next year and doing it a little bit quicker. You see this a little bit more on CHD right now because we got started on that a little bit earlier. And so as we short up, we use I don't know if we're supposed to say what technologies we use, but the technologies we use, we brought that up to date. We started slimming it down. And because of that, we got to iterate quickly on, like, we did the user portal, we did the reports update, we did the mobile ticket view, we're working on the new ticket view for desktop. Of course, the community, we did a lot of the backend stuff. And we tackled, of course, the smallest feature first, topics. That's like super easy to rebuild, right? So, once we have that one underway, it'll be a little bit easier. And even with the topics, you'll see that same thing. A lot of this first version is really geared towards, what does the logged out view look like? What are the elements we want to display that may not be as engageable? And then as we start making that work a little better, then we start adding in the logged in elements to it as well. So I don't know if that really answers your question, Eric. I want to say yes, it'll get a little bit more predictable, but I think you'll see what is going to happen more is more smaller updates happen quicker versus a lot of back-end updates that you probably just don't see as much.
Yeah, because we definitely spent like the second half of last year and the first part of this year just kind of getting the foundation set before we could build on top of it. And so while we made some very big updates, it's like the cable contest thing. Like, you all probably won't notice a lot of those changes, but it helps us as engineers build on top of it better.
Yeah, the hope is the only reason you may notice some of these updates is because it's a little bit more solid, outside of the few times I break the community once a month when I do something I'm probably not supposed to.
There was a question about profiles. Any plans to update profiles to include more customizable information, pictures, skills, videos? So profiles has been on my wish list for quite a while, actually. There's many things I would love for us to do for the profile pages, including update its tech stack, make it mobile responsive, and just kind of tighten up the features we have before adding more onto it. But at the moment, in terms of the roadmap, it's kind of behind the topic rebuild, the navigation, and the feed.
Yeah, those are the three first ones you'll see. The topics, the one in motion right now. Navigation just got started. And that one is, we're also not looking to reinvent the wheel. Like, we're just trying to make navigation a little bit easier, but not just for desktop, also for mobile. Make sure it's a pretty similar experience. You're seeing pretty much the same features, but also, it won't take up half your page when you're trying to navigate, things like that. And then the feed will probably be the one after. And then after there, this is where it sort of gets the whole Play-Doh analogy. The plan right now is to, we know we have some of this editorial content coming, so we want to make the whole ecosystem work better for that. But profiles and user onboarding definitely can use some quality of life updates.
Let's see. You should implement Pepper's fonts and autoplaying MP3s like MySpace. I don't know, Sean. It sounds pretty tempting.
I was thinking more like the Comic Sans and
the Comic Sans and the videos and.
Well, in the Sarcastica font, we definitely need Sarcastica.
We need the animated backgrounds, like from the 90s too. Is it planned to bring back the swag shop? I don't know. Sean, do you know anything about the Spike Shop?
I don't know. I know it comes up with SpiceWorld. I can bring that back up. I think Dana owns that, but her plate's been a little full lately with SpiceWorld itself. So we can check and see. I know there's always been a lot of desire for that. I also miss my plushies and my t-shirts, and we had a lot of other cool things in there. But I have no actual answer. But I can get that info for you. I think Chef had brought up the daily challenge.
Daily challenge, yeah.
So yes, there's a lot of feedback in daily challenge. We do go through those. I want to say at least once a day. I've been at least cleaning up one or two. Some of the challenge in daily challenge is just because there are so many user submitted questions, and for a time there, we didn't have one person managing. There were actually multiple people managing it. What you saw is a lot of duplicate questions. You saw a lot of almost duplicate questions, but some were a little bit more precise than others. So it's going through there. We're still cleaning it up. Daily challenge is actually one of those systems I want to do some quality of life updates to later. I know there's some members who have talked about it before, whether it's the time zone part of it or some of the other things. There are definitely some updates we can do there to help with it. But as far as the reporting, yes, we still definitely go through those. Worst case, and I'm trying to remember, someone already does this in the community. Whenever they see one they've reported and no one has acted on it, somehow they start a new topic and tag me. They're like, hey, Sean, I reported this. Why is this not done? And I'm like, okay, I'll go do it now. So when you call me out, I definitely have to go work on it. But we do, as the regular reports, we do also look through those.
We definitely have some things in the backlog about the daily challenge, and some of those are smaller things that we could probably work on. Some of those are quite a rework of the system, which makes it hard for us to do an update without disrupting people's I lost the word, how many they get in a row.
Yeah, there's like the streaks, and there's
the streak. That's what I was like looking for. Yeah, we don't. There's some challenges there.
Yeah, and I know like one of the things we often get is because I think we update those at different points of the day because of time zones. And so some users will see that, hey, so-and-so did 9 of 9. I've done 8 of 8, but I know I've done them for all 9 days. And it's just because some of the queuing and how we look at time zones as a whole, and there's just some other fun parts there. So yeah, it's one of those systems we definitely want to do some quality of life. It's probably going to be something after at least profiles and onboarding would be my guess. At least it works. Obviously, it's not a terrible system, but it definitely could use some updates. I'm also just going to point out there's someone named Chelsea AF in chat. Who is that? Hi, Chelsea. What's funny is Chelsea is actually in the other room from me right now. I'm at the studio, and her and Gretler are over there. So she's being really nerdy and typing me instead of just coming saying hi.
Chelsea's right next to you. Hi,
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Cat says hi.
Let's see.
Yes, come over here, Chelsea. Come say hi.
Hi, everyone. I think there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, I think there's like a minute or two delay sometimes.
I tried to come in on my cue. Hey, everyone. Just wanted to say a quick hello. I miss y'all. Happy SpiceWorld.
Yay!
Yay.
Yes. Let's see. We've got a new question here. Are the needs of the average community member changing over time? How is the community evolving as new generations of users get involved? Oh, this is something that Sean.
With the questions.
Yeah, it's a good question. This is something that Sean keeps an eye on, actually.
Yeah, and that's where to start with that one. Now I got to figure where. Are the needs of the average community changing over? Yes. If you look back, I know some of you have been with the community more than I have. Obviously, that has changed since the very beginning. I want to say in the last 5 years, that's definitely changed. In fact, the last 18 months, that's changed a bit just because of the pandemic. It's something that's always changing over the course of time. And that's a lot of what we're talking about when I say user onboarding. It's not necessarily just like the registration and get you started process. Like for us, we can do member onboarding throughout your Pepper your pepper lifetime. What a ghost chili needs is a little bit different than a pimiento. I always say that wrong. Pimiento needs, who need the jalapeno needs. And even inside there, no member is quite the same. How Brandon uses the community is different than how Eric uses it. And so this is where a little bit of the personalization gets into. It's not just what are the things you're interested in. It's, the social connections you have. It is what is your job description? What's your job title? As a help desk technician, I have definitely different desires than a director of IT. And things of that sort. So they definitely change and evolve over time, and that's what we're working more towards. And that's why you'll see a lot of what we're doing is not just updating and slimming down our tech stack. We're doing that with the community as well. The other thing I didn't think I called out as much earlier is we've actually removed a lot from the community over this year. There are a lot of features that I'm not going to say 10 members use, but it was a minute version, a minute minority of the community. Minority, that's a terrible way of phrasing. Minority of the community used. And because of that, we still have to do all the rigorous testing and still had to do updates. It was like, did it fit in line with what the community does today and where we feel like it's going tomorrow? And if that answer was no, it went on. I think we call it, we use our ticketing system. I call it my hit list of features. And so we've been trying to roll through that as well. And again, it really just comes down to having a solid foundation so we can start building again upon it, whether it's with a new topic view, with profiles view, new features that we haven't even thought of or talked about yet, kind of things. Also, someone had brought up dark mode, and that was one of the other things we can look at as we've sort of made the community a little bit slimmer. We've been working a lot on like our CSS and JavaScript and how we call that. Those kind of things become a little bit more feasible. If we tried to do that in the current version, it's a little bit more challenging. And I don't want Cat to kill me, so.
Yeah, I think with, the problem is we just built so many things on top of the community, and then some things get outdated while some things still get updated. Like trying to do a universal dark mode across the community would be very challenging for us right now. But it is something that maybe we can consider on a smaller scale, like with the topics rewrite, the new topic pages. We've slimmed down on a lot of the scripting and a lot of the CSS and stuff like that. I think there was one question that we missed about the notification dropdown.
Oh, yeah.
Any plans to clean up the notification dropdown and stack like notifications so you can see more than one than just the last 4 spice ups?
I want to say yes, but it's not something we're tackling anytime soon. There's between the notifications, and you'll see sort of the same thing in the feed. I know when we worked on, we used to have an old feed, and then the new version at one point in time we called it super feed. And super feed, that was one of the bigger requests, actually, was sort of bringing things together, stacking them up. I don't think we ever got to that point. And then we started seeing a similar request for the notification system itself. So hopefully, as we're working on the feed, there'll be some parity there that when we start touching notifications again, it'll make iterating on that a little bit easier. I mean, it's all zeros and ones, right, Kat? Like, those are easy things to do.
Yeah, it seems like maybe something we would look at when redoing the nav, but the reality is that notification part is actually separated from the nav, and the nav just kind of pulls it in. So while we do plan on, redoing the nav, that part will probably have to stay put for the beginning at least.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as, if I'm, and obviously I saw Georgia in the audience, so she may correct me later, but the current thoughts is everything is, it's work on topics, it's work on nav, it's work on feed, it's work on user onboarding, it's work on user profiles. There are other things we talk about we may work on, but that in itself, that is a lot of work in it. And I didn't do it in this session. I meant to. On the tools session, I actually brought up pictures of everyone on the team. And the one thing you'll notice is we don't have like 1 million developers working on these. We have 2 core teams right now. One's called Chimera, and one's called Infrastructure. They will get a cooler name later. But we have 2 core teams that work on community most of the time. And so it's using those resources, and by resources, I mean people. What are the things we can best tackle and do those in a way where we're not only pushing out updates, but iterating on them.
Any changes to the pepper scale?
Actually, I have a topic about that. Maybe that's where Eric stole this from. There was a topic that came up about this, I want to say it was a couple months ago. It wasn't yesterday, and I'm really bad with time past that. We have been talking about potentially putting one between pure capsaicin, and why am I blanking on what's right before? Is it ghost chili or is it mace?
Is it mace right before?
Whatever level I am, which is why I should know this, but I don't. Luckily, I have access to the community and I can look. Anyways, so so what happens is you need, I think it's like 100,000. This is how bad it gets to a point where you
It's
sort of
100.
like,
It's 100,000 to 250,000 in mace,
Yeah.
and 250,000 up for pure capsaicin.
I should know this. And so you basically have to double your score just to get to that next level. And I pointed this out when I was talking actually about Neely and Robert 5205. I always want to say his number wrong. If you just took like the best answers and helpful votes in helpful posts, what we used to call them for Neely, he has enough points almost to get to mace. And he had to more than double that just to get to pure capsaicin. And so it makes a little bit of a cliff there. So we've been talking about like, hey, is there maybe 1 or 2 more levels we can put in there? I don't think we're looking at really adjusting anything further down. If we do, the adjustments will either be there, and maybe one day we'll put something past pure capsaicin. But we only have 14 of those right now, so I don't see too many people beating down the door for it. Any other questions? Look at the chat real quick.
Not seeing questions. I'm gonna peek into the chat side. Liz just said I'm 1 million developers. I wish.
Yeah. When Kat can work on coding, yes, she is. But as the director of engineering, she does other things too these days.
I know. I try to touch the code once in a while, but it's hard.
Well, luckily, we've been bringing on some great new talent. Like one of the new developers we just hired, Ted, works in infrastructure. Shakar is one of our new engineering managers. So we're always bringing more people on the team, and we've had a lot of people who've been here for ages. I forgot how long one of our developers is Mauricio. He's been here longer than I have. He came a couple of years after you, I think, Kat.
I think he and Anel hit their 10-year mark somewhere recently, I think. Oh, someone's poking fun at your hair, Sean.
Oh. Oh, hey, that's Lee, like old support Lee. Sorry, Lee. Lee Young, right? Yeah, that is. Did you dye your hair? Have you gone completely gray? It has nothing to do with the takeover. Probably more this year. I've just been lazy. It's been a fun 18 months. Funny enough, I was talking to Woody. He does a site called GU Comics, and he's the one who built my original avatar. And I asked him if he would make me a gray one. I'm just old. Hey, there's Lee. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun because we can see like the session chat, but we also have another chat where we see the QA moderation. So I've been flipping through both.
I've got 3 minutes left. Anything left?
Anyone have any questions? Anything they wanted to hear about that we didn't touch on? Yeah, that's right. I got Chelsea here, Lee. So
yeah, Chelsea defending you. That's right. Do we have anything else that we wanted to share, Sean?
I guess for me, my 2 cents is, I'm about to hit my 10 years. And the big reason I stay here is the people I work with. And that's both people at Spiceworks, Ziff Davis, but also all of you. Like going, looking at the chat, I know all of you by name. I know who Eric is. I know who Brandon is. Obviously, I know who Lee and Chelsea are. But these are all people I know. And I formed these great relationships with over the years. So part of the reason I stay is that. The other part is I think the best is really yet to come. We've done some really great things over the years, but I think part of becoming part of the Ziff Davis family has given us a little bit of breathing room and a chance to start doing some of these core updates that we've always really sort of wanted to, but you couldn't really do that while moving forward on certain things. So for me, like this year has been a cleanup year, shall we say. And next year, I think you'll start seeing a lot more things working a little bit better. And it'll be looking, I'll say the community, but it's like the big C. It's not always spiceworks.com community. Brandon is, he is pivotal on Discord. And so we have community across the internet. So how can we better support that, not just on the website? That's my 2 cents. What about you, Kat?
Well, Liz actually asked what we're looking forward to most. And I think you covered that actually, is that I just feel like a lot of the things we're working on now kind of has been on like me and Sean's wish list forever. Like finally the chance to clean up the topic pages and make them, a better user experience, cleaning up the navigation, being able to have a feed that's more useful. Some of the big tech debt items that's kind of been holding us back. So I'm just looking forward to being able to move forward with those things and get those released to y'all.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for us for now. To you guys find a way to, like I said, obviously, any of you don't know, you always reach us in the community. We will have like a SpiceWorld wrap up that will probably be posting either late tomorrow or early Thursday. And we'll talk to you all soon. Enjoy the rest of SpiceWorld.
Thanks for all your questions.